Hey guys, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold from last week video. In today's video, I'll be going over my sales that are happening on my two top platforms, which are eBay and Poshmark. Had a little bit of a slower week last week, but we've also been doing additional whatnot sales, which I didn't include in the report of this video, and we had a really top-notch week on whatnot last week. So there's a couple grand worth of sales that aren't included, and all in all, I'm enjoying the different facets of my business, where the money is coming from, but today we're just focused on eBay and Poshmark. So let's dive into those sales. Before I forget, and before we dive into the sales, Jaden's is offering another giveaway on my channel. You guys know I absolutely love Jaden. I use one of their thermal printers in my own office to print all of our shipping labels. Having a thermal printer has been a lifesaver, and it is one of the investments that I wish I would have made a lot sooner. I love Jaden's products. Their printer is super easy to set up, and you can get going within minutes. Jaden's is offering another 268 Bluetooth printer to the viewers of my channel. So how this giveaway is going to work is I will have all of the information in the description box, what the rules are, when I'm going to be drawing for it, and how you can get an entry. What I need you to do is subscribe to my channel, subscribe to the @Jaden's Home channel, and then lastly, comment below. What I want to know down below in the comments is, what is the one thing that you did in your business that had a dramatic impact? If you could only pick one. Put your comments down below and make sure to subscribe to both my channel and Jaden's Home, and I'll be drawing very soon. All right, so in total, like I said, a little bit of a slower sales week. These sales happen between May 25th through May 31st. This is coming off of a holiday weekend, which typically does affect sales around the holidays. In total, I sold 123 items for a gross item sales of just right under $4,000. My average item sale price was around $32, which is still pretty low. As I mentioned before, when people are holding tight to money, or when, just typically lower ASP categories are popular, like tank tops and shorts, you're generally going to see an item ASP decrease if you do nothing differently. So I'm working on some things to combat that, but it is notable that I have a small drop. I also sold way more on eBay as usual than on Poshmark, but I did have a pretty decent week on Poshmark for my particular closet. Sold 88 items on eBay, and my average item sale price on eBay was a little over $33. On Poshmark, I sold only 35 items with an average item sale price of around $29. Let's dive into these individual sales. I have some fun things to show you guys today, some things to follow up on that you've seen in hauls. This will be one of those things. So I mentioned how I picked up this sweater, which has a terrible sell-through rate right now, but every single year I know that people do look for this particular brand, which is Cozy Cabin Sweaters by Keel James Patrick. When I look up the sell-through rate, not super good, but I know that there is a demand, and I know that the ones that still sell do pretty well. This was a more unique sweater, novelty print with the pumpkin, so kind of like a fall Thanksgiving-ish type of sweater, which we are still pretty far away from. But I just priced accordingly. So when sell-through rate's low, but I know it's a great item, I'm just going to price more competitively to get it to move. And so I listed this one for $45, and I must have priced it just right because it sold pretty much immediately at my full asking price of $45. This one actually sold 2 days after getting it listed. Next up, this is a style-based piece. You're going to see a mixture of high sell-through rate bolos, which is most of what I try to pick up and sell, data backed up stuff, and really focus on brands. And then another sector of my business is style-based sourcing, which I've been growing and growing. Today I have both men's and women's to show you, which is exciting. This is actually an item I paid up for. I paid $10 for this. It is an Echo Unlimited men's Y2K shirt. Reason I got this one is it was a very traditional Y2K piece that people are looking for, and this particular one had more stuff going for it than the other ones, just hitting all the bells and whistles. So this is a men's Echo Unlimited, which can be a decent brand to look for depending on what you have in men's style-based Y2K pieces. Color blocking, big graphic logo was the main reason, and it was a thicker t-shirt. So like I said, I paid 10. I listed for 45. It did sell for $45. This one took a little over a month to sell. Next up, this is a very high sell-through rate brand. It is Vori. This one is a pair of men's pants. This brand's becoming more and more popular, but it's also becoming easier to find because as a brand gets popular, they start making more of it, more people become aware of it, they purchase it, and then eventually they donate it. So this reminds me of the beginning stages of when Lululemon took off and you could pick up anything Lululemon. Well, now it's happening with this brand. And so what tends to happen, history repeats itself, is usually you can pick up anything in a very trendy brand like this. And then maybe a year from now, we're going to be looking at only very, very specific styles. So what I'm doing right now is I am looking up the exact style because I'm anticipating that that's probably going to start to drop off eventually. So also making sure you get the most amount of money by knowing what style it is because some can go for more or less, being very specific before picking up an item, even with a brand like Vori. But in general, most of it is still selling very, very well, especially in the men's stuff. So this style was called the straight leg meta pants in a size 38. I listed these for $55. I paid $7. They sold on an offer to watcher for around $47, and these ones took a couple of months to sell. Next up, this is more of like a factor stacking piece, but also sell-through rate based. Because if you do a generalized search for men's linen blazers, not including brand, you're going to see a very high sell-through rate on eBay for an overall general category. It's pretty high. So any men's linen blazer, I am at least looking up. I try to stick to the modern style ones. If you find a linen in like a vintage style, those don't do as well. But definitely the more modern ones can. And a lot of you said I was crazy when I showed this, but it's Bar 3, which is not a brand I would recommend getting. But because it's a linen blazer, it has a very high sell-through rate. So if you look up Bar 3 linen blazers, you're going to see a pretty decent sell-through rate and good comps on that. So just make sure you check your comps, but in general, men's linen blazers, definitely something you want to look out for. I paid $8 for this. I listed this high. You can't really list Bar 3 very high, but in this case you can. Listed it for 40. It sold for 40 and it only took 3 days to sell. So linen, linen, linen. Next up, this is another style-based piece, completely unbranded. I wanted to share this one with you because I like sharing the out-of-season things that are still selling. So I would definitely consider this out of season. It's a chunky wool vest, and it's also like that cozy grandpa style, which isn't usually popular except in fall and winter, but we're in the middle of summer. It's 100% wool. It's unbranded. It's still a great piece and it's still sold. So I paid $9 for this one, even though it was unbranded, listed for $40. It did sell for our full asking price of $40. And this one actually only took 6 days to sell. Probably the best keyword in this is that fisherman and then the cable knit, obviously. So there is still a market for certain things that are out of season. We just have to figure out what they are. All right, next up, I've been doing a lot of weird sourcing experiments recently, and recently I started going to a Plato's Closet in my area, and I was pleasantly surprised that there were a ton of Y2K vintage dresses and also baby doll tops that were priced down. So not as expensive as everything else, and it seemed like they'd been there for a while. So if you guys have something like that near you or a consignment store, might be worth checking because a lot of these style-based pieces are undervalued, and that's just in general. Thrift stores too, but it's opened up a new world of sourcing in places I don't typically source. So this is the brand Alan Page, not necessarily a brand I would recommend, but they do have some cool Y2K dresses that really fit the bill. I actually paid $10 for this, which might seem slightly priced up, but at a Plato's Closet, at least the ones in my area, it's pretty cheap. This one was a fairy dress. I think I showed in another video some other dresses that I got during that same trip that I've already sold. So I think this is the last one to sell. I paid 10, listed for 40, and it did sell for full asking price of 40. This one only took 2 weeks to sell. Next up, this one is more of a brand-based sell-through rate. This is Brooks Brothers. Anytime I see a Brooks Brothers. There's a few other brands too, like Vineyard Vines. Anytime I see a specific style name spelled out on a men's item, I always look it up. It generally tends to be good. This is a Brooks Brothers men's lightweight Advantage Chino in a larger size. I listed this one for $30. Great sell-through rate. Picked it up at the bins. Sold for full asking price of $30. And this one also only took a couple of weeks to sell. This one is a style-based piece. This is Hollister. This is one of my favorite mall brands to look for in the Y2K stuff. It is definitely not the highest dollar one, but it's a pretty decent one. So older style here. This is a puff sleeve Y2K. It's actually more like a sweater, but we list it as a top. And this one was also missing a belt. So it originally had a sash or a belt, but it really fit the bill of what people are looking for. It was a super tight fit, and you can just tell it is from that Y2K era. Listed the flaw, listed high at $35, and it sold for full asking price of $35. This one took exactly a month to sell. I also have some, just quick bread and butter sales for my core customers, which lately has been plus size customers. So this is an Alfani size 3X. This one's more factor stacking. I don't usually pick up Alfani, but great piece, size 3X, one of the better sizes. Actually listed this one high at $30, and it did sell for a full asking price of $30. However, this one did take a couple of months to sell. Something else we're picking up style-wise, specifically from the bins, is anything like Milkmaid or Coquette aesthetic, and we've been selling a ton of it. A lot of it is more bread and butter. Some we price up, some we don't, but this would be an example of a completely style-based piece, and it is modern. It is not Y2K. So Milkmaid stuff doing very, very well. Just this silhouette in particular is one that you want to keep your eye out for. So this is a brand, I think it might be sold at like TJ Maxx or something. It is in Saison. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It does have a Y2K style, but it is a modern brand. And yeah, just very Milkmaid Coquette inspired. Listed this one for $35. Again, picked it up from the bins. It was satin, so it was super lightweight. It sold relatively quickly. Let's see, just a couple of weeks for an offer to watcher of $30. So bins into $30. Really great. Really great price for something a lot of people are throwing back. This next one is a high sell-through rate brand. It is Freefly. It's definitely become more bread and butter, like the prices you can't get as much as you used to, but the sell-through rate's still there. So I like getting it. I paid $6 for this. It is a Freefly women's hoodie. And so a lot of their stuff is made out of bamboo. It's what they're known for. Anytime you guys see bamboo, just look it up. A lot of those brands are good. Same thing with like merino wool base layers. I actually just found one the other day that I'd never heard of. Excellent sell-through rate, even in the dead of summer. So bamboo performs very well. Freefly is one to definitely look for. This one had spell out on it and a little logo, but they can be really easy to miss because they're just so lightweight and very casual looking. Listed this one for $25. It did sell for full asking price of $25. This one took about a month and a half to sell. Next up, linen again. This can be a great brand to look for during this time of the year in linens. It's what they're known for. It is flax. This one is just a boxy linen top, pretty plain, but I got it. It did have a small flaw on it, so a small spot on the chest. Listed for $30. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25. This one also took about a month and a half to sell. This is a footwear brand that, depending on what you have, can be a good pickup. And just in general, every time I see it, I almost always look it up. It is a decent footwear brand. It is Teva or Tiva. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I personally love this brand for their more like casual sandals, but they're more well known for these like outdoor hiking sandals. Got these ones at the bins, listed them for $30, and they sold on an offer for $22, which is a message somebody sent. Even though we don't do OBO on our newer items, buyers can still send messages, and sometimes you can still use that little button that says send offer. If it's reasonable and I can move it quickly, I am doing that. So that's what happened with this one. And this one we sold just 20 days after getting it listed through that offer. Here's another example of a Milkmaid style dress. Again, modern brand, pretty sure it's sold at TJ Maxx or something like that. I almost said 100% sell-through rate, 100% cotton. So pretty decent material on this. There are some indicators like, hey, even though it's not a great brand, there are some indicators, both style, material, and other things that says, hey, this actually might be a good pickup. I actually paid $9 for this because I thought it was such a great silhouette and it's very trendy. I listed for $35. It sold very quickly for an offer to Watcher for around $30. And this one only took 21 days to sell. This is the kind of stuff, again, you can find at the bins or on sales that people are passing on simply because they don't know the brand, so they don't get it. And not that the brand's good, but style alone sold this one. This is another more of a style-based one. This we've actually had for a while and just got it relisted and like refreshed the listing. It is just Cavali, which is a subline of Roberto Cavalli. Now, if you find Roberto Cavalli, it is an excellent find. That stuff does really well. Like I said, this is more of a subline, which doesn't do as well. Wasn't quite sure where to price this, so we priced it high and then did or best offer. And that's usually what I do when I'm like, I don't know, could go either way. And I just let the market decide. So after we got the item refreshed, it sold within about 2.5 weeks later for an offer of $80. And I went ahead and accepted that because like I said, we have had this item for a while and to move it for 80 after getting it refreshed is okay in my book. But yeah, great style on this. I just think we initially didn't have the right keywords in it. Next up, this is a brand I love. You guys probably already know, but I like mentioning the outliers. This is an outlier because even though it's Johnny Was and it has a nice print, it's also a pretty plain t-shirt. And so if you don't go through the t-shirt section or the short sleeves, there's stuff like this that is hiding in those sections and tank tops also that you might be missing just because you don't go to the section because you think there's nothing there. So this would be an example of that. We paid $6.99 for this and we listed it for $60, sold for a full asking price of $60. This one actually only took 7 days to sell. All right, next up, this is a men's denim wear brand that I still love finding. It is Diesel. A lot of their stuff actually tends to be Y2K, and they also have some more modern ones. This is a pair of button fly Way-Key distressed straight leg jeans. In general, you definitely want to keep your eye out for just men's Diesel stuff in general. Even their shirts and stuff like that can perform well. This one is an excellent one to look for, and it is one of those brands where you definitely want to be looking up the exact style. Otherwise, you might be leaving some money on the table. So I paid $12.50 for this. I listed for $50. It sold for a full asking price of $50, and this one only took a couple of weeks to sell. Next up, this is a Carheart item. I know a lot of people are looking for the Carheart canvas jackets, which obviously do well, but there are some other things in Carheart that can perform well also. And so any jacket, outerwear piece that I come across, I tend to look it up. This one is a Carhartt Rain Defender jacket, which this line has a pretty decent sell-through rate, the Rain Defender line, listed for $45, and it also sold for a full asking price of $45. We picked this up at the bins, and this one only took about a week to sell. All right, moving on to some of the Poshmark sales. A lot of them were more bread and butter. This would be I think I've mentioned this before. I don't know why these are selling so well for us, but these basic editions, short sleeve button-up shirts, when they have prints, all those combinations combined, 20 to 25 bucks all day long for us. So here's an example. I believe the same buyer actually purchased these. So here is one sold for 20. Here's another that sold for 20. If you can find these for $1 on a sale or at the bins, list them appropriately. They're flipping really well for me. Next up, this is another brand that is very, very trendy. It depends on what you have. The dresses sell really, really well for me. It is Natural Life. This was a beautiful maxi dress with a sunflower print. I also got this from Plato's Closet, and this one ended up selling really, really quickly on Poshmark for an offer of $50. Next up, this is Sweaty Betty. In general, athletic wear brands that make dresses is something I would look up, and this brand in general doesn't have a high sell-through rate, but if you get more substantial pieces or factor stack with a larger size, which this one was, it can be a good flip. So this is a size large Explorer midi dress, and it sold on an offer which I accepted for $30. Here is one of my favorite bread and butter dress brands. It is Old Navy. This one's a little bit more plain. It doesn't have a really nice print. It's not long sleeve. It's not tiered or anything like that, but it is a size 4X. And so that larger size really helped to pull it through. I went ahead and accepted an offer of $25 on this one to move it quickly. This is an underrated bread and butter bolo. It is Duluth, specifically in women's larger size pants. So leggings, yoga pants, things like that. I find that the women's larger size pants actually have a decent sell-through rate. This would be an example of it. They don't sell for much, but they do sell pretty quickly. These ones sold very quickly for $25, which is what I was expecting to get. Another bread and butter dress brand that I like getting and factor stacking with is JCrew. This is a size 14 gingham plaid dress. Gingham plaid's pretty trendy right now. This one sold for $34. And another one I like to get in dresses during this time of the year is soft surroundings. I try to stick to the longer length ones. So this one is a longer length tiered dress, size large, and I accepted an offer of $34 on this one. This one's a definite bolo. It is Reformation, and here is that style of dress again we talked about, very coquette inspired. This one's also linen, so that's going to help increase the value. This Reformation dress ended up selling for $55. One thing I love about Reformation is their pieces look very, very plain, and so you might be passing on them if you're not aware of this brand and if you're not aware of how plain some of their pieces can look, but it's an excellent brand to look for. A not so plain brand that you definitely want to look for is Farm Rio. This brand is very, very trendy right now. It is they make like beach vacation looking stuff, resort wear, and that's really what's trending right now. So Farm Rio definitely surges and peaks at this time of the year. This was an Arara's linen jumpsuit. This had an excellent sell-through rate on this particular style alone, and this one actually, I probably could have gotten more. I definitely could have gotten more for it, but I got an offer for $50 and I thought it was really reasonable. So I went ahead and accepted that offer and opted to move it more quickly. But I could have probably held out and got closer to $70 on this one. Next up, Eileen Fischer, again, a linen top. Eileen Fischer and linen pair together, excellent, especially when it's a larger size. This one sold on an offer for $34. And I hardly pick up any women's jeans anymore, and I hardly ever get Madewell. But Madewell in particular, if I can get the right factor stacked on top of each other, I will look it up. So this was wide leg, it was black denim, and it was a larger size. I went ahead and took a risk against comps, and I'm happy I did because these actually sold very quickly on Poshmark for $35. And I think the key to it is you've got to price accordingly because it is a pretty competitive market with Madewell jeans. Next up, this is the brand Effys Heart. Their dresses have a pretty decent sell-through rate, especially in larger sizes. So this one's a size 1X. Again, a pretty plain looking dress. Like I could see this print on some of the Target brands, right? So you have to know what you're looking for. This one also sold very quickly because of the high sell-through rate for an offer of $35. And then lastly, finishing on a completely style-based piece, brand does not matter on this one. I had this listed for $35. It's a very fairy grunge Y2K sheer top, and I got an offer for $27, which I went ahead and accepted. All right, you guys, so that is it for the What Sold video this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. Hope that you like learning both some high sell-through rate bolos and also some style-based. If you guys are not already, consider subscribing down below and make sure to hit that notification bell if you want to be notified every single time these What Sold videos go live. I really like making the What Sold videos because it helps keep me accountable to what buyers are actually looking for. But you can also do the same thing by searching your own eBay solds, figuring out what's selling well in your store, and also just doing a general search for the categories that you're in and searching solds and seeing what is frequently popping up. That is how you can figure out what buyers are looking for. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.